Around 2014, several Kinahan drug shipments got intercepted and seized by authorities, but this was rare for the gang, and they quickly assumed someone within their circle was leaking information. The person everyone pointed out of being the informant was Gary, due to being a relative newcomer, but because of his last name, he wasn't immediately executed. Instead, an agreement was reached where his life would be spared, but he would be forbidden from engaging in any organized criminal activity, and someone from the Hutch gang would have to take a bullet as retribution. In addition, over $200,000 would be paid directly to the Kinahan family as a show of good faith. Reportedly, Gary's brother Patrick volunteered for the punishment and was shot in the leg by Daniel Kinahan. But in spite of that, Gary was still murdered in 2015. Allegedly, Freddie Thompson, known as Fat Freddy, Daniel's right-hand man at the time, was said to be responsible for the crime, and Jerry Hutch would be looking for revenge. In February of 2016, at the Regency Hotel in Dublin, Macklin's gym Marbella was hosting a weigh-ins for a boxing event they were promoting, and the Hutch gang got their revenge. Six gunmen showed up at the event, dressed in police uniforms and armed with assault rifles. One man was shot and killed, 2 more men were wounded. The alleged intended target was Daniel Kinahan, but he managed to leave before the shooting started. Patrick Hutch was one of the gunmen. He dressed as a woman and wore a blonde wig to hide his identity. But the man who was killed was an alleged lieutenant of the cartel and cousin of Fat Freddie Thompson, David Byrne. So how does Conor McGregor connect to all of this? Here is Conor with David Byrne in 2015. They used to train together at the Crumlin Boxing Club in Dublin when they were younger, and they maintained a friendly relationship. One of the fighters that was supposed to headline the card, Jamie Kavanagh, is also one of Conor McGregor's childhood friends. Jamie's father, Gerald, and his uncle Paul, whose funeral Conor McGregor attended, were both members of the Kinahan cartel. As of 2022, the Kinahan cartel and the Hutch gang are still at war, and a lot of people have died on both sides. Jerry Hutch was eventually arrested in connection of the Regency Hotel shooting. Conor McGregor's involvement. It's difficult to know the full extent of his involvement with the Kinahans, but we can't deny the fact he's been seen with a lot of people who are involved in the biggest drug operation in Ireland. I don't know if you remember the story of Conor McGregor punching someone in a bar. Not to get confused with the old man he punched, this was a different situation. Conor reportedly punched a man at a bar and had a $900,000 bounty placed on his head. In reality, the man Conor punched was one of Conor's friends. His name is Graham "The Wig" Whalen, and he is a known associate of the Kinahan cartel. Also, do any of you guys remember when Conor McGregor tweeted stuff out like this? Or when he said this to Dustin Poirier after he lost? Conor McGregor's sister also recently visited the Kinahan-linked money launderer, Graham "The Wig" Whalen, inside of Ireland's only maximum security prison. Maybe Conor does have more involvement than we think, with so many coincidences and connections to some pretty serious people who are involved in some pretty serious crimes. Or maybe Conor has no involvement at all, and it just so happens he grew up with a lot of people who turn to crime for a living. I also just want to say to anyone who may say I misinterpreted anything, or if I missed any key moments in the timeline, feel free to correct me in the comment section down below.